Zion Williamson on the move this summer with a new GM in town, Joe Dumars. Welcome to New Orleans. It's looking like that may indeed be the plan for the Pelicans. Trade Zion Williamson. I'm Trevor Lane. This is the Basketball Bulletin. We're going to take a look at what this all means and what a Zion trade could look like. Joining me is Donnie Freeman. Donnie, I mean, we've been talking about this for a while about whether or not it's time for the Pels to finally trade Zion Williamson. Now, Shamit Dua reporting that Pelicans ownership is expected to instruct Joe Dumars, who is now in charge of things. David Griffin on the way out or is already out in New Orleans. Now it's Joe Dumars. They're going to instruct Joe Dumars to trade Zion Williamson. Donnie, here we go. This is going to be an amazing. We're going to have Kevin Durant trades and now maybe a Zion Williamson trade to talk about. This is going to be an awesome summer.
Yeah, I want to ask everybody watching, do you think that the Pelicans should do this or not? Because this is something we've talked about for months on the channel. It's always been like, well, they should, maybe they shouldn't because X, Y, Z. And I've always been mostly fence sitting on this. Like, I don't, to be fair, I think I lean a little bit more like they probably shouldn't just because it's hard to get a Zion Williamson.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem with Zion is everything with him is in theory, like potentially, like you don't know what you truly have because what you have with him is mostly just glimpses, flashes, in spurts. You don't have sustained, this is what Zion is, right? And he's obviously somebody that's still extremely young, number one overall pick just a handful of years ago, top 10 potential in my opinion. But when does that potential become a reality? When does he live up to that? Does he live up to that? It almost feels a little bit bad just kind of sitting there waiting for him to kind of, hit his stride and live up to that potential. Almost feels like I'm waiting on this toxic relationship to turn different, turn differently, but it doesn't. It never does, right? But at the same time, he's only 25. He hasn't hit his prime yet.
Yeah, I mean, look at this. Look at the games played. 24, 61, 0, 29, 70, 30. 78. And if you told me Zion's going to play 70 games every season, sign me up. Yeah. Let's give up tons of stuff to get Zion Williamson. If you're telling me he's going to play 29 or 30, though, which he's done, 24, 29, 30. Even if you told me he was going to play 61 games like he did in his second season, that's something. Because when he's out there, he's absolutely fantastic. But I have largely fallen on the side of trade him. New Orleans they need to move on. They need to turn the page. And I think that's part of what firing David Griffin was about. Wouldn't shock me. Now it's going to be on Joe Dumars to decide whether or not he wants to keep Willie Green. Wouldn't shock me if he moves on from Willie Green as well as the coach. And if you're going to do that, let's truly wipe the slate clean and get to move forward into a new era you got rid of Brandon Ingram. We're now past the Anthony Davis trade to where I believe all the assets from that are essentially gone. Now, though, you can truly restart things and it's unfortunate because this Pelicans team looked really promising for a while, but I think it is time to truly restart this and move forward with a new group. So we're going to take a look at what a Zion Williamson trade can look like, in addition to a little bit of pushback that suggests maybe they're not quite ready to pull the trigger just yet. We'll get to that in just a moment. The NBA playoffs are right around the corner, and there's nothing like seeing a playoff game in person. That's why I'm thrilled to have SeatGeek as the sponsor of this video. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are over 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Right now, you can get tickets to the MLB season, and the NBA playoffs are right around the corner. And I love going to live events using SeatGeek. For me, it's about the value. SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. So you look for the green dots. Green means good, red means bad. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. I love that. Takes all of the worry out of buying tickets. And I came through for you guys. Use our code Bulletin10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code Bulletin10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Again, big shout out to SeatGeek. Super thrilled to have them on as a sponsor for the Basketball Bulletin. All right, so here's Shamit Dua also following up he does a great job covering the Pelicans, saying regarding the mandate on trading Zion, over the last 24 hours, I've heard more and more that Dumars, so Joe Dumars coming in, wanting to become, or going to become the big basketball, what we kind of want to call him, a general manager, president of basketball operations, whatever, the key decision maker on the basketball front, that Dumars wants a chance to get through to Zion. There's hope among decision makers that Dumars can connect with Zion in a way David Griffin never could. So from the Pelican side of things, the reporting is they would like Joe Dumars to trade him, rip off the Band-Aid, wipe the slate clean, and let's move forward into a new era. But Dumars wants one more shot, a shot. He has not been part of this yet. He wants a shot to get through to Zion and connect with him and see if he can be the one that finally gets Zion to get over the hump, to be on the floor, to be the superstar that we all thought that he was going to be when he came into the NBA. Donnie, there would be risk with doing that. If they give Dumars an opportunity to try to connect with Zion, and in December, Zion gets hurt again, and it's not working, then you're in really big trouble. If you have another injury, that could seriously decimate his trade market. So that is what the Pelicans brass is going to have to weigh. Do we want to give Dumars a shot to connect with Zion at the risk of perhaps seeing his trade value plummet even further if it doesn't go well? Or do we want to say, no, that ship has sailed, move him?
Yeah, that's definitely true. But the thing is, like I was asking you off camera, we were talking about it, like what even is Zion's trade value? I think that's my whole thing. Like, you know, like I was talking about potential, all that stuff, but if you trade him now, I think you're selling low, potentially anyway, because you're not going to get the farm back for a player of that quote unquote caliber, like what you would think would be worth a Zion Williamson trade. You're not going to get back what you would want for that. So what are you going to get? Are you going to get a couple firsts? Are you lucky to get one first? Are you going to get a couple fake firsts? And he's also in a weird situation because as you pull up the contracts, he's on this like super team controlled deal that's extremely unique. And maybe there's value in that because whatever team would acquire him should be able to cut bait whenever they want to, right? So,
well, there's protection, but no team's going to want to. Teams don't trade for Zion wanting to use that. That's right. Just there to mitigate the pain if he has some sort of devastating injury or something like that. That's just there to ease the. But this is the way Zion's contract is set up. This is. You know, it's essentially, it's a little bit of ibuprofen that's there just in case, right? Just to ease the pain a little bit, but it's still going to hurt, right? That's all that is for his contract, but it is better. It's something. It's better than nothing. That's for sure. It's better than nothing, but it's something. But yeah, I mean, what is his value right now? Is it what it was on draft day? Certainly not. Teams would have given up everything to get Zion. Teams aren't doing that now, but what type of team would trade for a Zion Williamson? I think it's a team that's got a really solid, really steady foundation and a team that feels like they are good with or without Zion, where they don't have to have Zion on the floor to be good. They can be good without him, but if they have him, then that makes them great. I think that's the type of team. So what are some teams that would kind of fit that criteria?
That's a tricky one. I personally would go for a team that I think would fit pretty well with like a star point guard. For example, a team like the Hawks, I would like to put in with Dre.
Atlanta. Really I like that.
Nice. Like I think, or I talked about them in a previous video. What about Indiana potentially? Like obviously they're pretty set with their core there, and I love Siakam, but you know, a team like that with a point guard like a Trey, like a Halliburton, I think would be really nice to set up the table for Zion. But otherwise, I mean, sure. I mean, he's got a pretty movable deal. I mean, 36 isn't that bad.
No.
Like you could put that together pretty easily, I think.
So let me throw out a terrifying option. The Thunder.
I thought you were going to say the Spurs. Could you imagine?
No, that would be another one.
No. I was going to bring them up.
Oh my God.
De'Aaron's not the same playmaker. He's a little more of a scorer, but like, could you imagine the Spurs with him and Wemby and De'Aaron? That would be a hell of a matchup.
It definitely would. They would be instant. I think if Zion's on the floor and you have Fox and Zion and Wemby, now, if they can be on the floor together, who knows? That could be instant title contender right there. I said the Thunder because they've got the draft capital to get. If New Orleans wants draft capital, and who knows, maybe they wouldn't, but I would think they would value draft capital highly. You know, and that's the other piece to this. Perhaps if they do win the draft lottery, right now they have the fourth highest odds of winning the draft lottery. The fourth worst record they finished what the Pelicans did. if they get Cooper Flag, do you still want Zion? They're both going to play kind of the same position. Maybe that pushes them. Maybe that's what the Pelicans want to do. They want to wait and see the results of the draft lottery before making a decision here. But yeah, man, I mean, the Thunder, I look at them and think that they've got the draft capital to do it. They've got contracts to do it. And they could be a team that can say, we're great even without him, but with him, we're unstoppable. So if he's not on the floor, if he only plays 50 games in the season, as long as he's available for the playoffs, we're good with that, and let's go.
Yeah, absolutely. I can understand that approach where it's like you have a team that doesn't need his production, but just could benefit from having him out there whenever he is available to be out there. But I do wonder, like, on the Thunder piece of it, you've got a team that's already 68 wins. They've grown together. Do you want to risk shaking that up by bringing in a Zion? Do you want to move some of your pieces? And you can obviously get better talent-wise, but does your team's cohesion take a hit a little bit? Maybe Zion doesn't fit that culture. I'm not sure, but we would have to see it, of course. And then on the Pelicans piece, I was thinking about it. At first, my initial reaction was, you don't really need Zion if you got Cooper, but you could play them together. You could do that.
I mean, first of all, you definitely could. Just
especially Slim Zion that we saw towards the end of the season where they were playing him more at the 3.
Yeah, I mean, we saw. So you think about like the Anthony Davis situation with the Pels. Like they got Zion coming off of that after that trade. They get Zion, and then it kind of made suspiciously, yes. But that it was sort of that easy transition, right?
Yeah.
Or even go to our Lakers, right? What do? They drafted Lonzo Ball. And while at first they were like, oh, we can play Lonzo and D'Angelo Russell together. Well, within a month, they traded D'Angelo Russell, right? So I do wonder if the Pelicans say, okay, if they do win the draft lottery, that empowers them to move on from Zion if they so choose. That'd be something that would be interesting. And it makes me wonder, is that going to be a factor in their decision-making here in terms of whether or not to move him? Obviously, the return is going to be the biggest factor, but if they suddenly get the number 1 pick in the draft, maybe that makes them more aggressive on the Zion trade front. But then from there, what do you want in a trade if you're the Pels? What are you ideally getting back for Zion? Is it future draft capital? Is it win now players? What do you want if you're them?
They're in a weird spot because they've got a team. Firstly, they're in the West, so it's competitive
for now.
For the first, for now,
maybe when expansion comes, I'm telling you, it is going to be a knockdown, drag out fight between the Pelicans, the Grizzlies, and the Wolves on which team gets to move east when Seattle and Las Vegas go. Now we're still years away from that happening, but those 3 teams are going to be brawling over who gets to go to the weaker Eastern Conference.
I was thinking it would be Memphis for sure, but maybe it's the Pelicans. But yeah, for now anyway, they are in the West, and they do profile as a team that wants to be competitive. They've got some guys that they should probably look to get off of in CJ. And if you're maybe you retain Bruce Brown. If you're not going to be competitive, you absolutely need to try to find a way off of DeJounte, in my opinion. But they probably would want to remain competitive, and so if that's the case, I do think that they would probably want to get back some pieces that could fit into their team. And maybe what you're missing with this team is like a main option. Like you don't really have that. So I don't know if
the 1A, but if they get Cooper Flag, then there's your guy.
If you hypothetically get Cooper, then sure, you can try to run everything through him. But if you don't, let's say you get the 3rd pick. Do you still try to build around that guy? And if that's the case, do you still need to get off some of these guys that are a bit older, like the 28 plus club?
Well, I'll tell you this. So this is just this is human nature. This is also what we've seen with sports teams, sometimes to the detriment of the team. But when a new decision maker comes in, and I guess this is true not just with sports, but in life in general, one of the things they want to do is change things so that they can point to what they did and why moving on to them was the correct decision. So think about Matt Ishbia and what's happened with the Suns. And obviously that's not worked out with them, but it's the shiny new toy syndrome. So I would think Joe Dumars, when he comes in, he's going to look at this roster and he's going to make a plan. He's going to make a plan of, this is the kind of build I want to have. I know I've got Trey Murphy to build around. I know I've got Herb Jones. I've got Jordan Hawkins, who's a good young player. Yves Missi, we found something in him at the center position. We've got some guys. The question is going to be, what does he do with, does he just wait for DeJounte Murray to eventually heal from the torn Achilles? That's probably his only option there. But what do you do with CJ? What do you do with Zion? Bruce Brown, do you try to bring him back? He's on that expiring contract. What do you do there? There's some big questions, but this team, I think, is going to look, whether it's a Zion trade or not, this team is going to look very different going into next season. Not only did they already move on from Brandon Ingram, but now you've got a new decision maker coming in, and you know he's going to make changes. So the question's going to really be, what is Dumars' vision? And that will determine what the desired return for Zion Williamson is. Does Joe Dumars say Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, maybe DeJounte comes back, Yves Missi, plus whatever we get in the draft, that's good enough for us to be ready to win right now? Maybe that gets him to trade Zion for win now pieces. Otherwise, he could be saying, I just want future draft capital. Give me matching expiring salaries, future draft capital. We're going to really play this out for the long haul, and away we go.
Yeah, I think that is probably what winds up happening here. But, you know, like I said in the beginning, it's really hard to get a Zion in theory.
It is.
So that's the problem. Maybe he can connect with him. And if he connects with him, do they work things out? And if they trade Zion, does he just go on a rampage and become healthy from here? And he weighs 215 pounds for the rest of his career and just stays healthy and kills? Could you imagine?
Get down to 215.
No, he's like 250 right now. Could you imagine? He's probably. Could you imagine? He comes back and for the rest of his career he's 195.
No,
healthy. He would look anorexic.
No, that would not be healthy. That would be bad, but going the other direction. Man.
How should we get this guy to start eating?
Suddenly, Zion's biggest fear is strong wind. No, you know what though? The other piece to this is when we're looking at how does a team decide, do we want to go for it? Do we want to build for the future? Whatever. It always feels good to go for it and say, we're going to go win. Right. Mm-hmm. But expectations are what get people fired. Yeah. That's what, if you're an executive and you want to have a long career with the team, and by long career, that might mean 5 years, right? Like that's, especially if you're a coach.
It's just a few years, right?
Right. Yep. So if you're an executive, building for the future is a way to create some measure of job security. Because if you don't win, well, we're not trying to win right now. We're not expected to win. We're getting future assets. We're getting stuff where we're not going to know the results of it for years to come. In the meantime, you get to still hold your job and collect a paycheck and all that sort of stuff. I do wonder how much that matters to executives, because if you go for it and it doesn't work, well, Nico Harrison knows how that is. And then it's all on you. And the expectations were that it was going to work and it didn't work out. And then changes have to be made. So if you are looking to preserve your position, if you were an exec, sell hope for the future.
Yeah. David Griffin knows about that. He tried to go for it. Didn't work out. He got one real year at it, but didn't really work out. So
did not. All right, everybody. Give us your thoughts in the comments down below. Sounds like the Pelicans are really going to weigh trading Zion Williamson this summer. Should they do it? Let us know in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe right here to the channel and go check out our latest video all about a bizarre decision by the Dallas Mavericks to hold a kind of secret press conference to talk about Luka now. Why? It makes no sense. Go check that out right now.